Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Cheese Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Regal. In this show, I'll be talking Packers sports life with Lindsay Valandry about life. But before I get to my guests, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Ohana Packers Edition for giving me the opportunity to express my opinions. Um, Also, there's a special giveaway once the Ohana Packers Twitter X account hits 523 followers. We are giving away a Jair Alexander autographed 8x10 picture. And I did happen to check about 10 minutes ago, and they're only at 328, so about 200 more followers, and you get a chance to win an autographed picture by one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. And please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Cheese Talk Podcast in YouTube. So here we have Lindsay. She is, I'll give her a little introduction. She's in long-term recovery, and she's a certified addiction counselor with alcohol, drugs, and other addictions. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it.
Yep. So kind of curious. I've been following you on Twitter for a while, and everything you post is awesome. It means a lot to see people out there trying to change people, try to help people out and talk and help them with their issues. What's up?
Thanks.
Um, so I do have a few questions for you, this kind of that I came up with. One is, how often do you sit back and ask yourself, why do you think you went through what you've experienced in the past?
Yeah. I have. I think that you mean like in a way of like regretting it or wishing I could do it again?
More like, you get to a point like we're like at a stage like late teens, early to mid 20s, and it's like you're like at a rebellious. I mean, like did you want to experience like everything once, or did you just like self-control? Was it more like you had to have a certain feeling to think that you're having a good time?
Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah. So what really I look back now and I think it was wanting to belong. And so that's why I picked up and drank.
Right.
And so then it's almost like it also gave me a feeling of it's like being enough, but really what it was just not caring,
Right.
so I could just not have anxiety and not worry about everything and feel comfortable in my own skin. It wasn't real. It was from drugs and alcohol, but I felt a sense of belonging, whether it be with all those people doing it or just with drugs and alcohol. It was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you go into a big crowd, like a big bar downtown. For me, I was in downtown Madison, so you go into and it's a huge. Obviously, we're always number one for drinking. There's like the top 20 drinking cities in the U.S. Like
Really?
Wisconsin had like 7 or 8 of like the top. It was just embarrassing, but whatever. And I always want a part of that scene too. And it's just like once you go in there and you get to that buzz and like you feel like you're a part of everybody else that you see around you, whether you know them or not. And you get to the point where you put your guard down and you go up to them, and then that's when you look at it. Now it's like, damn, like I put myself in that situation to where I could have been, taken, or I could have something could have happened, and it's just like, then you wake up the next morning like, what happened the night before, and it's like, it's scary.
Yeah.
And then having kids ultimately is like, Jesus, like you just think about like when we were that age, we thought it was fun, but then our parents were like in the shoes they were in right now, and it just makes it look like a total different perspective from our points now.
It's scary.
It is very scary. Did you lose like family, friends due to addiction, like through time? And if you did, now that you're back in recovery, are you gaining those friends and family back that you might have lost with everything?
Yes. So I always had my mom and my dad there, luckily, until it was the end and when they were just totally done and were like, you need to get help. We're not helping you anymore. And that was actually very helpful for me in that moment.
Okay.
And even though it felt like the most pain ever to have my parents say, we're done with you, it was a wake up call.
Yeah.
but other than that, I had friends from my childhood, but I had already lost touch with them because I was hanging out with other people that were just using. And so I didn't really consider any of them real friends. So that's one thing when I got into recovery, when I went to treatment, is like I got to start all over. No,
Right.
nobody, and then yeah, I never not really think about that before. And then yeah, so my parents, it took them a while to start trusting me again and to actually not see me as that person anymore. I
Right.
caused a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look back and it's like I have like before, like I drank. You have that small pack that I always considered like close with through like late junior high and in the high school, and when we graduated, we were all close knit, and then some go to college, some move away, some whatever. But to this day, I that's pretty much who I like keep in not close contact with, but like once you hook up with them, like not hook up whatever, but like once you text them or you call them or hey, I'm going to be in town. It's just like things never change from what they were before, as far as like those years back in school and stuff, which makes
Mhm.
makes you realize that who your true friends really are.
Right.
And ironically enough, like when I met my wife, I was working at a bar down by Camp Randall in Madison, and she was working. Our good mutual friend at the time was bar manager. So my wife lived up in Green Bay. I lived down in Madison. So my wife would come down for the weekends to work the beer garden.
Mhm.
So through time, she saw me and everything. But her first reaction to me is like, "Who in the fuck is that guy?" I was just, I was there and I was drinking, and
Yeah.
eventually, I mean, that was 17, 18 years ago, and we've been together ever since. So it's to say that I met her at a spot where I was at my most vulnerable, but I was at the point in my life when I met her that I didn't want to be in a relationship with anybody. I was, and it's just sometimes you realize that things are meant to happen the way they are, and I wouldn't change anything for. I mean, I'm a firm believer in things happen for a reason, and if I wouldn't have put myself in that situation, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But it's sad enough to say, I had to go through a lot of shit to get to get to where I'm at. But one good thing that came out of it was my wife and my kids. So
Yeah. That's
that's
I have a similar experience with, you know, had a lot of consequences, a lot of jail trips, a prison stay, many psych wards, and like that was not fun.
no,
And having a record now with charges on it, that's not fun. Um, but through everything, I was able to push through, and then sometimes I ask myself, I don't even know how I did it, but it was literally like one little step at a time, and they all add up. And when I look back, it's like it was like it's a huge change. Um, but I think I wouldn't be, I want to say, as smart as I am now, but that
yeah,
sounds funny. But I've a lot of experiences. It's like taught me a lot about life and how to push through,
yeah. I mean, you use life as your biggest lesson learner, and like
Yeah.
for it's like I talk to my kids and I tell them, certain things, and it's like, yeah, whatever, Dad. It's like, well, Mom and Dad, we've been through it. We've seen it happen to either us, our friends, our family. It's. But
Right.
sometimes you gotta experience on your own to realize that Mom and Dad were right.
Yes. Yeah.
And
They told me.
it's just sad to say. It's sad to see like your kids going this being in that. I have a 14-year-old daughter. She's gonna be 15 in May. Whew.
Oh boy.
My mom had three boys, and she's like, I would never, I would never want to have raised. I had three girls and two boys. So,
Oh my
um,
goodness.
yeah. So it can be challenging at times, but you sit back at the end of the day and you realize that they're kids, and you gotta just it is what it is. No one said it was going to be easy. So,
True.
um, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're going to say something.
Oh, no, I don't even remember what I was gonna say. I do that.
Okay. What was your rock bottom, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh yeah, no. My rock bottom was an accumulation of rock bottoms, uh,
Yeah.
of just so many times. It's like I was just staying there, and I wanted to come up, but it was like I hadn't been through enough emotional pain, maybe, to
Yeah.
where it was like a moment when I realized that I can't live a normal life and do drugs and alcohol. There's just no way. Um,
Yeah.
it was like a click and in my head. It was crazy. And then I got help, but I did relapse after that. But the thing is, like, me finally like wanting to reach for help, my that rock bottom, that was when I realized this is going nowhere. Like, I don't it's not worth it anymore. Like, it hadn't been
Right.
worth it for a while, but now it's finally in enough pain that I said to myself, all right, we got to just do it. That's the only option now. That was the
Yeah.
only option in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I got to the point, I know, like, so I'll be 3 years, November 1st.
Yeah.
Um, and I live in like in it's kind of hard to, it's like a cul-de-sac inside of a cul-de-sac type neighborhood. So like for Halloween, we went out with our kids, and neighbors behind us had like an adult beverage stand out, and I just remember I had one cup, and it's just like, I just, since that night I hadn't, I only had one drink, but I just said I'm just gonna do my best, because that's when I started being on all the for my injury, and
Yeah.
I've been clean ever since. So it's definitely, you feel good every day knowing that you're accomplishing things, and you're setting a better example. For me, setting a better example for my kids,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I can not put myself and my kids in a situation to where, oh no shit, dad's been drinking, dad's got to drive, and I just don't need that.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
you got to be an example for your kids, and I think that, and seeing other people that you communicate with every day, whether it be on, I mean, texting or social media, I think helps kind of keep that, even though it's like I don't know you from seeing you
Right.
on Twitter or whatever, it's still I think it keeps the drive in people to keep doing good.
Yeah, it helps me for sure, and there's a sense of accountability for myself there to,
Yeah.
you know,
How
show.
much how much does having you said you have a boy, right?
Yeah, he's
How,
7.
how much does having him help you with your everyday getting through things?
Um, Probably the most helpful thing, probably the biggest motivator is him.
Yeah.
Obviously, I do everything I do it for myself because
Right.
I know that I know now that I matter enough to want to do the right thing and want to keep pushing. But he really, that unconditional love like I have for him, just
Yeah.
like it's just it's like hard to describe. It's everything to me.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's just hard. I think I posted on Facebook. Um, we last night, my wife and I signed up my 14-year-old for driver's ed.
Oh my god.
So like, this seems like yesterday I was putting her in her car seat and taking her home from the hospital. Next thing you know, it's like
Oh,
boom. It's like, but you know,
it's
it's
wild.
yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy how fast, like they say, kids grow up fast, but they grow up fast. And
It's
they get
scary.
they get their clicks at school, and they get their friends, and they get their certain things they say. Like my kids went through a stage and still do. And I think since I started, I didn't like, not so much like mock them, but the bruh and the
Yeah.
bro it's like, I'm your
Yeah.
dad, that's your mother. We're not your bro, we're not your bruh, we're not dude, you're not this, mom and dad. Sometimes they'll joke and call me by my first name. It's like, no.
Oh no. Oh no.
But it's just, you have a lot to look forward to.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Um, and you answered that question. Do you have any actually, when you're counseling clients, does it help you out with yourself as well, like walking them through the certain situations, or
Mhm. It helps me because I don't I don't ever want to be someone that I don't want to ever talk about something that I don't actually do. And so, meaning like just I don't, because obviously, like, I don't tell them, what to do or anything, but I just, have to be authentic with them too, and just let them know, like, I'm here for you. And, um, it helps me stay accountable to them too, because they need help, and I can help, and I need to be on point.
Yeah, if they can see that you've been through maybe a certain glimpse of what they've been through, and then they see you being successful, it puts more confidence in them thinking or knowing that they can do the same thing because there's somebody else that I consider a friend that can do the same thing you're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
That's
And I'll
that's
share it
awesome.
with them too. Like, I will share it with the ones that I feel like it's necessary, or that will help. It'll benefit them.
Right. I'm sure you can tell like when somebody comes in whether and they have the tools
Yeah,
ahead of them to be successful, or you can tell the ones that come in, maybe you can like smell alcohol in their breath, or you can just see it's like, hey, you're not gonna maybe open up as much to them as you would to somebody else that is
right.
getting that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
It's all dependent on if I think it's appropriate to even talk about, because I'll talk about my journey, but not much more than, I don't talk about my personal life or anything,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. Um, do you this is the other side of my podcast. Do you like follow sports at all?
No.
That's a good answer. Just kidding. No. Well, I didn't know. Because I know you post a lot of things about, the sobriety and everything, which is
Yeah,
awesome. And I don't think I ever remember seeing anything sports. So that's why I figured I'd
you're
ask
right.
you.
You're right.
Is there, how long did it take for you to go through schooling and stuff? Is that something that obviously, was that part of your journey too? Is that something
Yeah.
that you started like when you were still using, or is that something that you started like after you became clean or, on your journey?
Good question. So, what is so interesting that I just recently have remembered is that I was at my first treatment center for alcohol when I was 20 years old, and I was taking college classes for the addiction counselor. Um, I did not finish those classes, and I did not go back to school till later on. But I was always interested in being an addiction counselor, but I was in addiction. It's just so wild how that works. And so that was like always my dream job for some reason, even back then. Like, I wanted to do, like, write a book or like do something to help people, but I couldn't help myself. So it was so weird. Um, and when I went to through treatment, after a year, they came to me, the owners, and they said, "Hey, you've been sober for a year. We've been doing everything. We see how you're holding yourself and doing what being accountable. So would you want to come work here and live at the girls' house?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I was like a house mom. And I didn't have a license. I didn't have a car then. So I started, because I had a DUI. And so I had all this money to pay back and everything. So I started straight from that point. And then um, I got experience in every single spot in a treatment center. Like, I did business office, I did insurance, I did um uh VOBs, like verifications of insurance, I did admissions, I did billing, and then
Yeah.
intern counseling, and then counseling. So that was the longest I did, was the counseling. But um I worked up from, like, literally, because I was making like what, $50 a week or something, and then living there. And then they had to help me get my license, and I had a breathalyzer in my car. And I was like, I'll never ever get to a point to where I'll be independent. But I did. It's just it literally took what it took in time, but it happened, one
Yeah.
step at a time.
It's like everything, like I said a while ago, everything's, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. Some things are just meant to be. I know for like me, I got a DUI when I was 22,
Mm,
and downtown Madison, go figure. And it was just a torrential downpour, bar time. You meet up with friends, you get a bite to eat before you part ways. And I went down a one-way street the wrong way, and when I went, I almost clipped a cop car. I had two female officers, and first they're like, can you, is there someone you can call to come pick you up in the corner of whatever Johnson and Broom Street? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, call mom, 3 o'clock in the morning. Can you come pick me up in the corner? She's like, why? I'm like, mom,
Oh my
come
God.
pick me up. Next thing you know, I got back of a cop car. I went police garage, took field sobriety. I was in a holding cell for like 4 or 5 hours, and my parents came down and got me out and everything. But you're like, oh, I'm never ever gonna do that again. And it's like you maybe have like half a beer or a beer, and you get that liquid courage, and you get behind it's just stupid, and
Yeah.
it's just until like fast forward to 3 years ago, when I got hurt. I've been home a considerable amount of time from my injury, and my kids are in sports. So like I first started coaching he's a fifth grader now, but I was coaching him in basketball, which is a passion of mine. Kind of like you said, um, I was just trying to find things to get me out of the house for those,
Yeah.
3 or 4 days a week. And
Right.
then my fourth grader, he was in basketball, so I was coaching him. And then last summer, my fifth grader didn't want to play soccer or didn't want to play football or didn't want to play basketball, so he played soccer. And I grew up with my brother playing soccer, and we traveled all around the U.S. for him. And I'm like, well, I know enough about soccer. I always tease soccer players because I played football when I was growing up. I played football and soccer, but I quit playing soccer like, I don't know, like elementary school to play football. And so I know about soccer. So I was like, I'll teach you, everything.
Cool.
And so then just doing stuff like that to get me out of the house and making myself damn sure that I'm not gonna, you know, drink before I get behind the wheel, because just keep
Yeah.
my mind off of it. It's huge, and
Yeah.
then
It's
you see other people doing it. It's like, so it's like it's just like you almost want to like tell them, are you sure that you want to get behind the wheel? Or it's like, if it's someone you don't really like, say, oh, maybe they'll get a DUI and figure out for themselves, and
Yeah.
it's just for me. And like, I like found hobbies too, to like take pictures. I'm sure you've seen my photos on there. That's all from my cell phone.
Cool.
FYI. So everyone's always asking me, what are your photos from? I was like, I just use my cell phone.
Wow.
I have like a magnetic on the back of my phone. Then my windshield has a phone holder, and I just use my stylus to snap
Oh,
the picture when I'm driving. Then I get back home and I go through and I keep the
that's
good ones and get rid of the bad ones.
that's cool.
But yeah, I don't know.
It
I just thought it'd be so cool to have you on today, and just because I know there's people that I know that I follow and that follow me that I have lined up. Once I started this idea of doing a podcast, I wasn't real sure about it, and then I was on a few podcasts, and it's like, I mean, it keeps me busy,
Yeah. Exactly.
keeps my mind going. I'm a huge lover of sports, so the Green Bay Packers. I grew up in Madison. Now my wife is from the Green Bay area, so we moved up here after we
Nice.
got married. Huge Packer fan, love them to death. I actually coached Matt LaFleur's kid. He's the head coach of the Packers in basketball, not this last year, but the year before. Super nice family. Um, but yeah, just my passions. I like to stick to them, like photography and just getting out and enjoying the small things. But like I was saying, I do have a lot of followers that are, I have one guy that he messaged me about, that he has a problem with drinking whiskey. And it's like,
Mm.
that's one thing I didn't really get into, was like the hardcore. Like I was more like, well, I guess I was a little bit, but those are the nights where you drink so much beer, then you just black out when you start mixing the hard liquor.
Yes.
But no,
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know you said you got a meeting coming up. I'll let you get ready for that, and hopefully down the road we can chat again, and
Cool.
hopefully we're both living the sober life still.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you maybe you could put my podcast in there, my YouTube channel. It's Recover from Addiction.
Okay.
And my name. So
Yeah, I'll
if
put
you
you
want
in the
video description.
the video description. Yeah, I'll look up everything about you and I'll post it on there and I'll post myself as well.
Cool.
All right.
Something. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You take care.
You too.
Bye.